Hi guys, and welcome back to my live based on my book Beyond Asanas. And today we're going to be looking at the 8th chapter, which is called Tadasana. And Tadasana is actually the translation is mountain pose. So we're going to be looking at in this chapter about why mountains are so important. What is the symbolism and what is the meaning of mountains in Hindu mythology? Why are they so important that we have an entire asana named after them, after mountains? And mountains are not only important, but they've also been sacred to a lot of cultures across the world. And mountains not only, traditionally they've also been like fortresses, so it's been a sense of protection for many countries. Mountains have been worshipped in many cultures across the world. And in India particularly, all our major rivers, the important rivers and the rivers that we consider holy and sacred, those also originate from mountains. And so mountains are definitely very, very important. And of course you have, Mount Kailash, where Shiva resides. You have Mount Mandara, which we discussed in the previous live, which was really important in the churning of the ocean. And you also have Mount Meru, which is also very important. So mountains are very important, not only for countries to maintain their boundaries, to maintain their borders, but also in mythology, because they represent and they symbolize a sense of a sense of greatness, a sense of like protection as well. So the story I only have for the Tadasana chapter, which is chapter 8, there's only one story that I have written about, and that actually has to do with Shiva. So Shiva is kind of like, although it's not directly related to Shiva, Shiva does make an appearance in this story. And the story is called The Most Magnificent of Them All. And the story is about a king called King Himavat. Okay, and King Himavat, he was a very pious king, and he maintained a very peaceful kingdom. And he had a wife who was actually the daughter of a mountain. His wife was Queen Meena, and she was the daughter of Mount Meru. So that is where we have like the first reference to a mountain. And both of them together had 3 daughters and 1 son. And interestingly enough, all the 3 daughters, they wanted to marry Shiva. And the 3 daughters that they had, all of them had different characteristics. All of them were very, they were lovely, they were beautiful, and they all had different personalities. So they had 3 daughters. The first one was called Ragini. And Ragini was, she had this rosy complexion. She was very fair. And she also really liked to wear red clothing. And this is very significant, as we'll find out later. Then their second daughter was called Kutila. Now, Kutila was also very fair. But the thing that she really liked to do was wear flowers around her neck. So she wore flowers as jewelry. And finally, the last daughter. So King Himavat's last daughter was called Kali. And Kali was very different from the first 2, from her sisters, in that she was very dark, and she was very fierce, and she was very dark. And she looked very different from the first 2 rosy and fair daughters. So what happened was that all of them wanted to marry Shiva. And not only them, but there were so many other people in the kingdom, other women in the kingdom who wanted to marry Shiva. So what they had to do for that was to do some sort of tapas, some sort of penance. And for that, all three daughters, all the 3 sisters decided to do tapas. And the first daughter who received this, who sort of received what she asked for, who received the boon that she asked for, was Ragini. And Ragini was, she was like, okay, she was very happy. She was ecstatic that she got her, this kind of boon. And so what happened, and her mother was also very happy for her that, one of the daughters is actually going to marry Shiva. And what happened was Brahma came. He was watching this whole thing, and he came, and he was like, okay, I don't think that Ragini is really, suited for Shiva, because she's not strong. and she's too fair and she's too rosy. She's too delicate for Shiva, and she might not be able to bear him any sons. And Ragini was very dejected by this. Okay, she didn't like this at all, and she began to argue with Lord Brahma, saying that no, of course I can. I've done all this tapas, and of course I can, I can bear him sons, and we can be very happy together. And they go back and forth. She argues with Brahma. He keeps telling her, no, this is, even though you have received this boon, you're not strong enough for someone like Shiva, and that I know Shiva personally. And Ragini kept arguing, and finally Brahma lost his temper. And as it often happens in Indian mythology, whenever someone loses their temper, especially if it's a sage or someone who has some powers like Brahma, they curse the person. So Brahma curses Ragini, and he says, Ragini, you are very beautiful and you have this rosy complexion. So now you are going to never leave your dad's kingdom. You are going to be the soft evening light that falls in the evening over your dad's kingdom and over all the other kingdoms, and everybody will love you. They will look at you, they will admire you. Shiva himself might admire you, but you will not marry him. You are destined to stay in your dad's kingdom as the soft evening light, and we'll all admire you, but you don't get to marry him. So next what happens is, so Ragini is like transformed into the evening light. Next what happens is that Kutila is granted her wish. And again, she's very happy, and she starts to plan her wedding, and she's very happy. But Brahma once again comes, and he says, look, even you won't be able to bear Shiva sons, and it's great that you've done all this penance, and it's really it's nice that you were even granted the boon, but you will definitely not be able to. You are not suited to Shiva, and you'll definitely not be able to bear him the sons that he needs. And once again, Kutila was a little angry, and she started to argue with Brahma, saying that no, how do you know this, and just being very insolent. And Brahma, very quickly lost his temper again, and he says, well, you will now be cursed to forever become a river, that flows from your dad's kingdom. So here again you see the symbolism that rivers are very sacred, and rivers usually emerge from mountains which are held sacred, and hence we have Tadasana, which is a pose in yoga as well, which has been sort of immortalized as a yoga posture. So that's what happens to the second daughter. She now just becomes a river. Then finally it's Kali's turn. So Kali is the last one to be granted this boon. And now everybody is a little cautious, because they've seen that, okay, the first two sisters have been cursed by Lord Brahma. Now what's going to happen to the last one? And so Lord Brahma, as predicted, he comes and he looks at Kali and he says, well, no, I think you are actually suited to Shiva, because you are strong. Your temperament is also a very strong kind. Your disposition is also, one like a strong disposition. And I think that you will be perfect for Shiva, and you have the strength to bear him sons. And so Kali is happy, Kali's mom is happy. The only person who's not actually happy is Kali's dad, King Himavat, because he has heard, and as a lot of other people had also heard, of Shiva's reputation. And he has this reputation of being a mendicant, of being a wanderer. He wears skulls around his neck, and he just walks around. It seems like that he is a free bird, like he doesn't have an abode. Even though he does live in Mount Kailash, he's usually found somewhere else, and he has friends who are from the netherworld. And so Himavat is a little like he's a little taken aback, and he's a little hesitant about this. But he sees that Kali is very happy, his mother is happy, everybody, they have Brahma's approval, and so he says, okay, fine. And Shiva sort of understands this mind, the kind of thoughts that King Himavat had in his mind, and he sort of tells himself, he makes this resolution, commits to himself that over time he will show Himavat that he did the right thing by giving Kali, to him in marriage. And over the years, he does actually show that he is very responsible, he is very caring, and he shows, to Himavat that he has nothing to worry about. And in the end, everybody is happy, Kali is happy, Shiva is happy, and the universe is actually a much better place. So the details of this story you can find in my book Beyond Asanas, but a little bit about the significance and symbolism, since we're talking about that is specifically what these lives are about. Now, significance here is the idea of the mountain. Now Tadasana is related to the mountain. Why is there a pose named after mountains, and why are mountains so important? And now the first thing is that mountains actually signify some sort of challenge. Okay, whenever someone looks at a mountain, to summit a mountain is considered, it's one of the most it's a great challenge, and it's a great achievement also, regardless of which mountain it is. So people sometimes at great risk to themselves want to summit mountains. So that is in a way that shows you the practice of yoga, because for yoga practice also you have to plan, you have to strategize, you have to be very dedicated, you have to take care of yourself, and only then will you be able to be very good at the practice of yoga. Similarly, to scale a mountain, you have to take care of your health, you have to again strategize, plan. There's so much planning that goes on. So it's not something easy. In fact, it's something very difficult. It's not for everybody. So similarly, yoga is not for those people who are not in it for the long term. You won't really find any kind of benefits if you want to practice yoga only for the short term. Similarly, the first day you try to summit a mountain, climb up the mountain, and you're tired, and if you stop, you're never going to summit that mountain. And also, once you summit the mountain, even if you're at the peak of a small hill, what happens is that when you look down, everything down below seems so insignificant. It seems that everything is so small. So similarly, when we achieve our goals, like if there's a goal that you want to work towards, it might be very difficult to achieve that goal. But once you have achieved that goal, all the difficulties that you found on the way, all the setbacks, they become very small in comparison. So that is the symbolism, that's the significance of mountains, and that's why we have Tadasana. Tadasana seems like it's a very easy posture, but when you actually do it and you do it with alignment, it is actually a posture which is very difficult. It's one of the most difficult postures in yoga. And if you, as I said before, in the book there are I've made like small summaries of the importance of these asanas. So the first thing that I've written about for the mountain pose is, as yoga practitioners, we need to be like the great mountains, rooted to the ground, yet reaching up to the heavens. Challenges need to be overcome with courage, resolve, and good emotional and physical health. So this is directly related to mountains and related to the practice of yoga. But if you notice, a mountain is densest, the most area is at the bottom, and then it has a peak on the top. It's not like you have a peak in the bottom and then it's dense on the top. This is, again, it symbolizes the practice of yoga. So at the bottom, the basic asanas is what actually give you the know-how and the strength for the more difficult asanas to reach the summit of yoga practice. So the more you practice the basic asanas, the more you practice the boring classes, where you're just repeating, you're just doing the same thing over and over again, you're kind of perfecting the basics, the easier, the more strong your foundation is, and the easier it is for you to summit, But if someone doesn't have a strong foundation, then you'll definitely not be able to summit. You'll get injured on the way. So that is the first thing for why Tadasana and why mountain imagery is important for yogis. The second thing that I talk about for Tadasana is, the Tadasana is also called Samasthiti, which means straight, upright, and steady. All yogasanas start and end with Samasthiti. Now, if you are an Ashtanga practitioner, you know that this is where you start all of the Surya Namaskars. This is the first thing in your yoga practice, day in and day out. And finally, I say, before any movement, there has to be stillness, stability, and balance. This pose calls for us to be steady and strong like a mountain. So again, emphasizing the fact that Tadasana looks like an easy posture. Not many people practice it. Don't spend too much time practicing it. But just like a mountain is strongest at its base, these basic asanas like Tadasana, Trikonasana have to be perfected before you think about the more difficult asanas. So also, this is the book that I'm reading from. It's a book that was published in 2019. It's called Beyond Asanas. It's my first book. So if you have any questions about the story that we discussed today, or any other stories that I have been discussing in these lives, do drop me a comment or email me, and I will try to answer you in the best way possible. So thank you for joining in today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you can actually get something out of these lives. And I will see you tomorrow for the next live. Thank you.